Baseball isn't just a game, it's a pursuit, a chase full of failure, resilience, and the moments that define who we become. From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Chasing the Game with Phil Sanchez. Real stories from real players and real coaches who refuse to quit.
All right, welcome back to the Chasing the Game podcast. I'm your host, Phil Sanchez, where we dig into the stories, the people, and the decisions shaping baseball in the state of Indiana and beyond. Today's guest is one of the most respected voices in high school baseball across the state of Indiana, Justin Keever, the head coach at Noblesville High School. Coach Keever has led the Millers since the 2004-2005 season, building a program defined by consistency, development, and winning, highlighted by Noblesville's 2014 state championship. But his impact goes well beyond the dugout. Coach Keever also serves on the executive council of the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association, where he's helping lead conversations about potential changes to the IHSAA baseball playoff format, changes that could shape the future of the sport for players, coaches, and communities across Indiana. This is Chasing the Game. Coach Keever, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Phil.
All right, first question right out of the gate, and I like to ask it to everyone. Bat flips, yes or no?
Not necessary.
Why is that?
I mean, I don't lose my temper on it, but it's just not necessary. But I think some people get a little too excited about what somebody else. I'm a little more concerned about what our team's doing, less concerned what the other team is doing.
I agree. Hey, you've been coaching for Noblesville specifically for more than 20 years now. So
yeah.
What motivates you? What makes you keep coming back?
Well, I love the relationships, and I love competing, and I obviously I love the game of baseball, but obviously the watching kids grow and get better and watching them turn into good teammates and help each other, that's really fulfilling. And then you kind of get in the groove, and I love the competition, especially around here. I mean, it is definitely the deep end of the pool, and we love competing, and it's just at a great school, a school that supports what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we got a good thing with it. What's the saying? You don't mess with happy.
Yep, I like it. Hey, to that point, you've seen the game grow so much over the past 20-plus years, especially here in Indiana, a state that's more known as a basketball state, or at least was more known as a basketball state. What do you attribute to that?
Well, I think you're right. I think in terms of baseball, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it's like, the biggest differences I see when I first started is that the floor is so much higher. You definitely have when I first started coaching, Lance Lynn and Josh Lindblom and Tommy Hunter and those guys were seniors, and those are big leaguers. And so you don't get much better than that. But it's just so many more players that are really good. Way more skilled. I think all the indoor facilities going up around here. Our population's increasing, obviously, in the past 20 years. Think about in the year 2000, I think Carmel was 2,000 students, and now it's 5,200. Noblesville's doubled in size since I've been in Noblesville, and so our population's growing, and I think, like I said, the indoor facilities and the kids just kind of honing in on their craft is allowing for more skilled players. And I see it more on the pitching end than I see in any other position, quite honestly. I just think our pitching ability is really taken off in comparison to the hitters right now. There's some good hitters around here, but the pitchers are kind of heavyweight champions right now.
Yeah, especially here in Indiana, definitely pitching is huge. To that point, this is a conversation I have quite often. Are you a big advocate of the multi-sport athlete, or do we get to a point, especially at the high school level, where it's like, man, if you want to progress, if you want to keep going on with this, you might have to pick?
No, I was a multi-sport athlete, and again, I played in a different era, but I love the multi-sport athlete. My thing is, like, your ability will tell you how long you play multiple sports, and so if you can do it, and I think you're better for it. We have kids at our school are just trying to make a team, and so it's not the same. I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all multi-sport athlete formula for every kid, but I do think the kids that can should, and I think there's so many things to learn. Like I know how many lessons I've learned playing football. When I played quarterback, I was at Twin Lakes High School, and then playing basketball in this state, and playing baseball. There's different lessons and different ways to be a good teammate, and I think those are the most transferable goals that we take with us than whether or not we run a 6.60 or throw it 85 across the diamond. So I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. I think sometimes we lose track of what. I mean, I think we play the long game here. Like, what are we trying to get out of this experience? And if it's just to be the best ball player you can be, then I think we're missing out on an opportunity on the other lessons that we can learn. And if for some of those kids, that's playing multi-sport athletes. For some of those kids, it's just playing the sport that they love to play. And so I'm not in the camp of saying you have to do one or the other. I mean, I want to support the kid, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. So give us a preview of this upcoming season. I know you have a couple of studs on your squad right now.
Yeah, we got some good players, and we got some guys. I mean, Aiden Reynolds has been a 4-year starter for us on the infield, and then he's going to Indiana University. And then Becca Doan is a 3-year starter for us, and he's going to Mississippi State. And obviously there'll be guys that we're going to be counting on, and we got some returners as well, and that have had good years. And this last year, hopefully they make a jump this year in the HCC and also in our Sectional 8. But like I tell everybody, like we got a good team. We got to stay healthy. But the other thing is that we're playing other good teams as well. And so it's going to be the teams that execute and limit the number of opportunities for the other team and maximize those for us.
Something else I wanted to talk to you about, Coach, and this is maybe a little bit in the weeds, but this is a baseball podcast, so I'm sure anybody listening will get where we're coming from. There's a proposal that you and the Indiana High School Baseball Coaches Association have drafted for the upcoming season. Tell me where that stands and what's that all about.
So we have 4. One is adding an extra week to the season. That's proposal 1. That would basically put us on the same calendar as softball. When you compare us to other sports, I mean, heck, basketball's got 12 weeks to play their competition, to play their games. We right now only have 8, and football has 9, and to play their games. And so we're asking for that 9th week to give schools more opportunity to play their games, their 28 games or the 26 in the tournament, because that's some schools dismissed for spring break. You have weather, you have all graduations. There's a lot of spring conflicts that limit the number of days you can play your games.
Yeah.
So this helps with that experience for them. Proposal 2, this has to do with participation in terms of giving more flexibility, especially for the smaller schools, of how many games a guy plays, whether it's JV or varsity, especially on the mound, to help maximize their rosters there, which softball's gone in with us on. I think there's overwhelming support for proposal 1 and 2, not just with the coaches but also with the athletic directors. Proposal 3 is we are wanting to revamp our state tournament, and so I've had some quote unquote issues with the way our state tournament is formatted, because it's not really conducive, that we believe, the coaches to baseball, and we're having to fit our 6 to 8 team sectionals, depending on where you're at. Some of them have 4, but most of them are, in fact, 44% of all of our class 1 to 3A schools are in a sectional that involves 7 or 8 teams, and they're being asked to fit those within the 5 days allotted by the IHSAA, which would be Wednesday to Monday, which typically is Memorial Day that Monday, but these past 2 years it won't be, just because how the calendar works. And there's just no way in order to match up rosters within the equity by squeezing that in there. So, for instance, if an 8-team sectional starts on the Wednesday, there's 2 sides of that bracket, and the the top side of that bracket is going to be able to recycle the number one pitcher for that Monday. So right now we have a pitch count rule where if you pitch anything over 100 pitches, then you got to sit 4 days, which is good. We have no issues with our pitch count rules. That we think they're smart. We think they're healthy, and there's also room for flexibility. But right now, the way it works is that if that top half of the bracket you only have 2 games on a school night, so you got 2 games going on Wednesday, which is the top half of the bracket. Well, the bottom half of that bracket has to play on Thursday. Well, now they can't recycle the number one pitcher. So what happens is that you have a sectional championship that pits a number one pitcher versus a number 3 pitcher, theoretically. And it gets worse when you get to odd number sectionals. You got 7-team sectionals where the second round is going to be a 1 versus a 2. And the championship could be a 1 versus a 2 or a 3, depending on who wins. 5-team sectionals are very complicated for the exact same reason as the 7-team is, And the 6-team right now, I know in our sectional 8, where we've tried to balance things, where the sectional championship right now is a 1 versus a 2. Now the 2 is coming from the buy side. So you're kind of saying, well, you got to play one less game. You're just trying to subjectively and arbitrarily trying to make things equal, where we're just fighting too hard for that to happen with those 6-team sectionals. And our proposal is we think our sectionals are too big for the number of days that are allotted. And so what we've proposed is splitting those sectionals in half. So for instance, our sectional sites would not change, but they would be drawn into 2 separate brackets that will crown 2 separate sectional champions. And then those champions would move on to the regional, because currently right now we only have a 1-game regional. And whoever wins that 1-game regional moves on to a 4-team or a 2-game semi-state. And so what we're saying is like, all right, let's just reallocate that sectional championship round that's been currently used and move that to the regional weekend. And what that does is it keeps pitching matchups equal.
Right.
And so, or the availability for the pitch. Now, some teams may choose to throw off whatever, that's their choice, but that's their choice. The calendar's not making that decision. They're making that decision. And so that's really where that's coming from. And then proposal 4 is taking that exact same structure and scaffold and adding seating. And so I should add that proposal 3 had 90% of our coaches supporting that. 90% of our coaches agree that this is an issue. The pitching matchups are an issue. And then 84% of our association agrees that there needs to be seating. And then we presented the seating format basically within the structure of what we were doing proposal 3, with some slight differences because of like a 6-team sectional wouldn't be a 4 and a 2 bracket. It would be a 3 and a 3, just because otherwise there's no way you could do seating with a 4 and a 2 bracket.
Right.
But again, there's a growing support of seating. I think it adds to the intrigue of the regular season. You could use a bunch of different computer models that are out there. I think personally, and one of the examples we've used is that the wrestling state championship is one of the best state tournaments that our association, or IHSAA, does. And it's incredibly popular, incredibly well attended. And one of the main reasons is that you're keeping the best wrestlers in that tournament. They advance 4 from the sectional, and they're wanting to see those types of matchups.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why. And so the other thing we're trying to get through and trying to make our case and then communicate is that, and I believe it's being well received from this end is that they understand that baseball is different. Currently, we are in a tournament and a grouping with other team sports in the 4-class system that includes softball, volleyball, and both basketball, boys and girls basketball. And the differences between baseball and then with those other sports is that baseball is the only team where you have like legitimate and literal roster depletion from game to game. And it involves the most important position on the field, which is the mound. And while the other sports get to run their best players or their best roster or they have total roster availability, and then also they get to do their best team is on the field or on the court, depending on what sport. And baseball is different because of the pitch count, and it should be. And so what we're trying to do is get them to understand is that we need to have a tournament structure that is conducive to baseball, that allows for those pitching matchups. And then with Proposal 3, and then with Proposal 4, we're kind of saying that there's going to be issues. We have graduations, we got weather, we've got a certain amount of time to get this tournament in. And if there's going to be advantages from one team to another because of that, then it should go to the team that earned it.
Right.
And we're not saying that not every team should get in. We're not. And so one of the pushbacks on the seeding part is like, well, what about the teams that didn't have a very good year? And while I understand, I'm sensitive to that. I think our association is sensitive to that. It's also, sports is a meritocracy. And
yeah.
So, and then also we're saying they get a chair at the table, and it's not like they're not included and they have an opportunity still. So, those in a nutshell are those 4 proposals. I think the biggest thing I know, personally, it is one of the things that has been talked about for years and years and years. And then finally, we're actually we've narrowed things down where this is where we think our approach is. The conversation started. We made a proposal a couple weeks ago at the IHSAA. Before that, we presented to the athletic directors, the AA, AAA, and then recently, a couple weeks ago, we presented to the IHSAA our proposals. And what is encouraging is that they see the issue with the pitching matchups. And so that is encouraging. Now, whether or not they agree with our solutions, that's a different story. And so hopefully there's continued dialogue to get to a solution to the problem that makes sense for both sides.
Are you hoping that this is kind of figured out before this upcoming season? Is that even possible?
No, this would be for the next side. This would be for this year.
Got it.
This year is already kind of locked in. It would be for the next cycle.
Okay. So next we're talking 2026, 27.
27.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
2 years, the IHSAA has the opportunity to make a presentation for proposals for bylaw changes to the IHSAA. And these are our 4 this particular cycle.
When do you plan on having further discussions with them?
Well, I had a long discussion after the clinic with Robert Falcons, which is our commissioner. We were trading some ideas back and forth. I think I was told that they were going to be in touch with some their ideas for the solution. One of the benefits, in our opinion, is that what it does is that proposal, both of them, doubles the number of sectional champions. So you're going from 64 champions to 128 champions. And some of the skeptics or the people against it would say that, that you're watering down the sectional. And like there's some sectionals where you only have to win 1 game to win the sectional. Well, our response to that is like, well, right now it only takes 1 game to win a regional, and it only takes 1 game to win a state championship. And so we're saying we would rather thicken the regional round than have a sectional round that doesn't make sense in terms of having too many teams playing in a short period of time.
Right. All right. Well, you've been doing this for so long, so you should know. Are you? I guess. Do you think something will get done?
I don't know. I hope so. And I mean, my whole goal too, when we started this, is like, I think the most important thing is that we got to continue to move the football down the field here. I think if we just make proposals and then we stop, I had a superintendent, when I got the job at Noblesville, Dr. Lehman, told me one time, and this is a few superintendents ago, but he told me when I was doing my final interview with him and I was accepting the job, he said, if you ask for something and we tell you no, and you never ask again, we're going to think it's not very important. And so if we tell you no, we may have our reasons, but don't stop asking. And so our contention is this: we think this is very important. We're not going away. This is principled for us. This is not some type of preference on where reasonable minds can disagree. This is, in our mind, this is something that needs to be fixed. One, we got to protect the pitcher's arms so coaches don't feel compelled to pile everything. Here's one of the things to understand too here, Phil, is that all year we operate basically in a college pitching schedule, which that means is like if you have a start on a Friday, you're going to have a side day on a Tuesday, and then you're going to make your next start on the next Friday.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a 7-day rotation. Well, you get to the state tournament, if you start on a Wednesday, and then let's say you're fortunate enough to win, and you come back on that Monday for the championship, that's a 4-day rest. Well, that's allowed. You haven't really done that all year. And then if you win the sectional championship, you're going to be asked to do that again, because then you play that regional on a Saturday. So you haven't done this all year, and now you're going to be asked to do that twice in a matter of 2 weeks. And our thing is like we got to be able to match up stuff. And one thing we do want to make clear is that we don't think that we should just have one pitcher get all the way through. What we're saying is that if I'm throwing my number 2, that means that you had to make a decision on whether to throw your 1 or 2 the first game, but you're throwing your number 2.
Right.
And if you decide to throw your number 1, that's because you threw your number 2 the first game, not because I got to throw my number 2 because I had no choice and then you didn't have to play a game, or you had more time rest than I did, and now I got to throw a different pitcher than you would throw. That'd be like playing the first round of the sectional and Jeff George was playing quarterback, but next round he has to play wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other team got to play their starting quarterback.
Right.
That's just that's kind of the position we're coming with. So if we're going to do the blind draw, then we got to at least balance it. We got to take some of the volatility out of it.
Yeah, baseball's totally different than some of these other sports.
Totally different.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, you can make an argument of saying in basketball, as for instance, let's say, hey, we're not going to seed it because the best team's going to win anyway. And you can make that argument because the best players are always going to be on the floor.
Right.
So, but in baseball, that's not the case. I mean, going back to my initial comment, it's like Lance Lynn is on the hill is one thing, and Drew Storm was a good pitcher, but in 2005 he wasn't Lance Lynn. Right. And that's a different animal. And so teams change dramatically by who's on the mound, the most important position on the field.
100%.
And so we're just saying that we got to be able to, and then also because of the volatility of the sport, we think the blind draw even adds to that. So the seeding helps kind of, I don't know, mitigate that randomness. Yeah, so to speak.
Baseball's better when you got your number 1 out there.
Yeah, and it's fine if the other team's got his number 1 out
That's
there.
100%, absolutely, no doubt.
If I've got my number 1, you got your number 2, or have it. I mean,
yeah, exactly. No, it's totally. Well, Coach Keever, you keep us posted on this. I would love to talk to you again as more things develop.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And again, like I said, we're going to continue to keep pushing the IHSBCA. I mean, Executive Director Brian Abbott, does a great job of. We want to push our sport forward, and the status quo is not where we want to be. We want to keep moving forward, making it better. Our players are getting better, so our coaches and our programs and our tournaments and our associations need to get better too.
No doubt. Coach Keever, good luck this season. Thank you so much for taking some time.
All right. Thanks for the time, Phil.
Yep. Talk to you soon. Bye.
See you.
This is Chasing the Game with Phil Sanchez. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast, and be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network, online at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.